While music is often listened to for entertainment, it can also be used for education. Raised by Wolves by U2 discusses the car bombings that took place in Dublin, Ireland in 1974. This was one of the deadliest attacks in political history, known as the Troubles. Today, I'm going to discuss the events that preceded the attack, the day of the attack itself, and the events that followed. In 2015, Martin Law, a writer for Kane, which is a source of political information for Northern Ireland, wrote that the bombings actually began 2 years prior. In order to understand the attack itself, it is important to understand the events that preceded it. The first bombing took place in 1972 on December 1st. 2 male bus drivers were killed and 172 people were injured when 2 car bombs exploded in the center of Dublin. Mallah reported that a man with an English accent phoned in a warning a few minutes before the attack. No organization claimed responsibility for the explosions. Mallah stated that many pinned the blame on the Irish Republican Army. At the time, a bill was being debated that would have given the state much stronger powers against the Irish Republican Army. Many believe the bombings were a covert operation to influence legislation. The second bombing took place over a month later on January 20th, 1973. 1 man was killed and 17 people were injured when a hijacked car exploded in Sackville Place, Dublin. Again, no organization claimed responsibility for this attack. Mallah wrote that the suspicion fell on one of the loyalist paramilitary organizations after this attack. Now that I have told you about the events that preceded the Troubles, I am going to explain the date of the event itself. The third and largest bombing took place over a year later on May 17, 1974. 33 people and an unborn child were killed when 4 car bombs exploded in the center of Dublin. Over 258 people were injured and several were killed from their injuries. The death toll was the largest in any single day of conflict. Again, nobody was convicted, but the main suspect in this explosion was the loyalist paramilitaries. Now that I've told you of the destruction of this event, I'm going to explain the events that followed. The Irish police completed this investigation within 2 months after the attack. Mallah stated that the chief superintendent of the Irish police left a memo on his door explaining that the investigation unit would be returning and the case would be closed. This investigation has been heavily criticized throughout the years. In 1993, a documentary was released covering the attacks. It was titled Hidden Hand, The Forgotten Massacre. Immediately following the release of this documentary, the Ulster Volunteer Force, or the UVF, accepted full responsibility for the attack on May 17, 1974. Upon their confession, the families of the 33 killed in the attack attempted taking a case to Europe to open a murder inquiry against the UVF. This case failed within a month and nobody was convicted. A few years later, a memorial was unveiled on Talbot Street in Dublin commemorating those who lost their lives in the attack. It was opened on September 26, 1997. Now you are aware of this historical moment. I have explained to you the events that preceded the attack, the day of the attack itself, and the events that followed. The Troubles will never be forgotten, as it is an infamous moment in history that never received the justice it deserved.